Mental strength is not formed in moments of ease, it is forged under pressure. Comfort may feel pleasant, but it does nothing to strengthen the mind. Pressure, on the other hand, demands adaptation, focus, and resilience. When life applies pressure through deadlines, responsibilities, setbacks, or uncertainty, the mind is forced to respond. This response, repeated over time, is what builds mental strength. Without pressure, there is no reason to grow, no demand to improve, and no incentive to push beyond limits. Comfort creates stagnation, while pressure creates evolution. Most people misunderstand pressure and view it as something negative, something to avoid. They seek stress-free lives, low resistance, and predictable routines. But a life without pressure is a life without growth. Pressure exposes weaknesses in thinking, habits, and discipline. It reveals where you hesitate, where you panic, and where you break. While this exposure can feel uncomfortable, it is necessary. You cannot strengthen what you do not test. Just as muscles grow by lifting heavy weight, the mind grows by carrying heavy responsibility and stress. Comfort gives the illusion of safety, but it secretly weakens the mind. When everything is easy, the brain becomes lazy. It avoids problem solving, resists effort, and becomes dependent on favorable conditions. Over time, even small challenges begin to feel overwhelming. This is why people who live comfortably often crumble when unexpected difficulty appears. They were never trained to handle pressure. Mental strength requires conditioning, and comfort provides none. Pressure forces clarity. When stakes are high and consequences are real, excuses disappear. You cannot hide behind procrastination or overthinking when action is required. Pressure demands decisions, and decisions sharpen focus. Under pressure, you learn what truly matters and what does not. Distractions lose their power, and priorities become clear. This clarity is a critical component of mental strength because it trains the mind to cut through noise and act decisively. Pressure also builds emotional control. In stressful situations, emotions naturally intensify. Fear, anxiety, frustration, and doubt surface quickly. Weak minds allow these emotions to dictate behavior, leading to panic, avoidance, or impulsive decisions. Strong minds learn to feel emotions without being controlled by them. This skill is only developed through exposure to pressure. You cannot learn emotional control in comfort because there is nothing to control. Pressure creates emotional resistance, and navigating it trains the mind to remain calm and focused under stress. Another powerful effect of pressure is responsibility. Pressure often comes with accountability, deadlines, expectations, and consequences. When responsibility increases, so does personal growth. You are forced to rise to the level required or accept failure. This environment accelerates mental development because it removes the option to stay average. Pressure pushes you to improve skills, strengthen habits, and refine discipline. Comfort allows avoidance. Pressure demands performance. Pressure also teaches perseverance. Under stress, quitting often feels tempting. The mind searches for exits, excuses, and relief. Each time you resist the urge to quit and push through discomfort, you reinforce resilience. You teach yourself that discomfort is survivable, that effort is possible even when conditions are difficult. Over time, this builds confidence, not the loud, emotional kind, but quiet confidence rooted in experience. You know you can handle pressure because you have done it before. Comfort, in contrast, trains avoidance. When life is easy, the brain learns to retreat at the first sign of difficulty. This creates a fragile mindset where challenges feel threatening rather than manageable. Comfort lowers tolerance for stress, while pressure increases it. The more pressure you handle, the stronger your capacity becomes. What once felt overwhelming eventually becomes routine. This expansion of capacity is a defining trait of mentally strong individuals. Pressure also accelerates learning. Mistakes made under pressure carry weight, and lessons learned stick. When failure has consequences, the mind pays attention. You analyze what went wrong, adjust quickly, and improve. In comfortable environments, mistakes are easily dismissed or repeated because nothing forces change. Pressure creates urgency, and urgency drives growth. Importantly, pressure does not mean chaos or recklessness. It means intentionally placing yourself in situations that demand more from you than you currently feel comfortable giving. It means setting higher standards, accepting greater responsibility, and pursuing goals that stretch your limits. This deliberate exposure builds strength progressively, not overnight. Mental strength is accumulated through repeated encounters with difficulty, not through one dramatic moment. Those who are mentally strong do not seek pressure because they enjoy pain. They seek it because they understand its value. They know that pressure is the price of progress. While others run toward comfort, they lean into challenge. Over time, this choice compounds. The gap between those conditioned by pressure and those softened by comfort grows wider and wider. Ultimately, mental strength belongs to those willing to endure pressure without breaking. Comfort may protect you from stress today, but it leaves you unprepared for tomorrow. Pressure prepares you. It sharpens the mind, strengthens resolve, and builds resilience that no circumstance can take away. Mental strength is not gifted, it is earned through repeated exposure to challenge, responsibility, and stress. Those who understand this stop avoiding pressure and start using it as a tool to build an unshakable mind. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, rises and falls with mood, energy, environment, and circumstances. One day, you feel driven, inspired, and ready to conquer everything. The next day, you feel tired, distracted, or doubtful. If your progress depends on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Discipline, on the other hand, does not negotiate with feelings. Discipline acts regardless of emotional state. That is why discipline matters more than motivation, and why mental strength is built on discipline, not inspiration. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. They wait for the right mood, the right time, or the right energy. This waiting is a trap. Life does not reward those who act only when they feel good. Progress belongs to those who act when it is uncomfortable, inconvenient, and mentally taxing. Discipline is the ability to move forward without needing emotional permission. It is the decision to do what must be done because it needs to be done, not because it feels good in the moment. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation depends on excitement, novelty, or external influence. Discipline depends on standards, routines, and commitments. Emotions fluctuate daily, sometimes hourly. Standards do not. When you rely on discipline, your actions become predictable and consistent. This consistency is what produces results over time. Small disciplined actions repeated daily outperform short bursts of motivation followed by inactivity. Discipline is earned through repetition. The first few times you force yourself to act without motivation, it feels uncomfortable. The mind resists. It looks for excuses, distractions, and justifications to stop. But every time you override that resistance, you strengthen self-control. Over time, disciplined action becomes automatic. You stop debating with yourself. You stop needing to feel like it. Action becomes part of your identity. This is mental strength in practice. Motivation often collapses under pressure. When stress increases, energy drops, or obstacles appear, motivation fades quickly. Discipline, however, thrives under pressure because it does not depend on emotional comfort. When things get hard, disciplined individuals keep moving. They may slow down, but they do not stop. This ability to continue despite discomfort is what separates high performers from average ones. Pressure exposes whether you are driven by feelings or governed by discipline. Discipline also builds trust with yourself. Every time you say you will do something and then do it regardless of mood, you reinforce self-belief. You prove to yourself that your word matters. This self-trust compounds into confidence, not loud confidence based on hype, but quiet confidence based on evidence. You know you can rely on yourself because you have demonstrated it repeatedly. Motivation does not create this trust because it is inconsistent. Discipline does. Another critical difference is that motivation reacts to goals while discipline sustains systems. Motivation focuses on outcome, success, rewards, recognition. Discipline focuses on process, daily actions, habits, and standards. Goals are meaningless without systems to support them. Discipline builds those systems. It ensures that progress continues even when results are slow or invisible. This long-term consistency is essential for mental strength because strength is built over time, not in moments of excitement. Discipline also protects you from self-sabotage. When emotions run high, people often make impulsive decisions that undermine long-term goals. They skip work, break routines, indulge in comfort, or quit prematurely. Discipline creates guardrails. It limits emotional decision-making and keeps behavior aligned with values and objectives. This control is a form of freedom, the freedom to stay on course regardless of internal or external chaos. Many people claim they lack motivation, but what they actually lack is discipline. They confuse the absence of excitement with inability. The truth is, you do not need motivation to act. You need standards. When standards are clear, action follows automatically. You brush your teeth daily, not because you feel motivated, but because it is a standard. The same principle applies to work, training, learning, and growth. Raise your standards and discipline becomes non-negotiable. Discipline also strengthens the mind's tolerance for discomfort. Every disciplined action taken without motivation increases your capacity to endure mental resistance. You learn that discomfort is not dangerous. You learn that fatigue is not final. This resilience carries into every area of life. When challenges appear, you do not panic or hesitate, you act. Your mind has been trained to function under resistance. Motivation seeks ease and inspiration. Discipline accepts difficulty as normal. Life is not designed to feel good all the time. Expecting motivation to always be present is unrealistic. Discipline accepts reality as it is and operates within it. This acceptance removes frustration and excuses. You stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, what needs to be done? That shift alone transforms performance. Over time, discipline actually creates motivation. Progress fuels confidence, and confidence fuels motivation. But this motivation is a byproduct, not the driver. Those who wait for motivation never build momentum. Those who rely on discipline create momentum first, and motivation follows later. This is the correct order. Mental strength is not about feeling strong. It is about acting strong when you don't feel strong. Discipline is the mechanism that makes this possible. It turns intention into action, plans into results, and potential into reality. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what finishes it. Failure is not the end of progress. It is part of the process that builds mental strength. The problem is not failure itself, but the meaning people attach to it. Most individuals interpret failure as proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. This interpretation turns failure into defeat. Mentally strong individuals see it differently. They understand that failure is training, a necessary phase that develops resilience, skill, and clarity. Without failure, mental strength remains shallow and untested. Every meaningful pursuit involves failure. If you are attempting something ambitious, you are operating beyond your current capacity, which guarantees mistakes, misjudgments, and setbacks. Expecting success without failure is unrealistic and naive. Failure is evidence that you are pushing boundaries rather than staying safe. Those who avoid failure usually avoid growth as well. They choose small goals, low risk, and familiar paths so they never have to face discomfort. In doing so, they also never develop the mental toughness required for high-level achievement. Failure trains emotional resilience. When something goes wrong, emotions surface immediately: disappointment, frustration, embarrassment, fear, and self-doubt. Weak minds allow these emotions to take control, leading to withdrawal or quitting. Strong minds learn to sit with discomfort without being overwhelmed by it. Each failure endured strengthens emotional tolerance. Over time, what once felt devastating becomes manageable. You learn that emotions are temporary and survivable, and this realization builds confidence under pressure. Failure also provides feedback that success cannot. When things go right, it is easy to overlook weaknesses, flawed strategies, or poor habits. Success can mask problems. Failure exposes them. It forces honesty, shows you where your preparation was insufficient, where your thinking was flawed, or where your discipline broke down. This information is invaluable. Those who treat failure as training analyze it, extract lessons, and apply corrections. This process accelerates growth far more effectively than comfort or easy wins. And mentally strong individuals separate identity from outcomes. They do not define themselves by single success or failure. Weak minds internalize failure and turn it into a label. I failed, therefore I am a failure. Strong minds view failure as an event, not an identity. This separation allows them to recover quickly and continue moving forward. The ability to fail without self-destruction is a critical component of mental strength. Failure also trains persistence. The temptation to quit is strongest immediately after a setback. The mind searches for relief from discomfort and justifies giving up. Each time you resist this urge and continue despite failure, you reinforce perseverance. You prove to yourself that setbacks do not control you. Over time, this persistence becomes part of your character. You no longer fear failure because you trust your ability to recover and continue. Another powerful aspect of failure is that it builds humility. Success can inflate ego and create complacency. Failure reminds you that improvement is always necessary. It keeps you grounded and open to learning. Humility is not weakness, it is adaptability. Those who accept failure as training remain teachable and flexible, which allows continuous improvement. Arrogance, on the other hand, resists learning and often leads to repeated mistakes. Failure also strengthens problem-solving skills. When a plan collapses, you are forced to think differently. You must adapt, innovate, and find new approaches. Comfort does not demand creativity, failure does. Each setback expands your ability to navigate complexity and uncertainty. This adaptability is essential for mental strength because life rarely follows a straight, predictable path. Avoiding failure weakens decision-making. People who fear failure hesitate, overthink, and delay action. They wait for perfect conditions that never arrive. This hesitation costs time, opportunity, and momentum. Mentally strong individuals act despite the risk of failure. They understand that action produces information, even when it leads to mistakes. This bias toward action creates faster learning and greater progress over time. Failure also builds courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act despite fear. Experiencing failure and surviving it reduces fear's power. You realize that failure is not fatal. Each encounter with failure makes the next one less intimidating. This desensitization allows bolder action, higher goals, and greater ambition. Courage grows through exposure, not avoidance. Many people quit just before failure turns into progress. What they interpret as defeat is often the final stage of training. Growth is rarely visible in the moment. Strength is built quietly through repeated effort under difficulty. Those who endure failure long enough develop depth, confidence, and resilience that cannot be faked. Those who quit early never reach this stage. Failure also sharpens discipline. When things go wrong, excuses are tempting. It is easy to blame circumstances, people, or bad luck. Mentally strong individuals resist this instinct and take responsibility instead. They ask, what could I have done better? This accountability turns failure into a tool rather than a burden. Each adjustment improves performance and reduces repeated mistakes. Ultimately, a failure is only defeat when you stop. As long as you continue, failure remains training. Every setback adds experience, every mistake builds awareness, and every recovery strengthens resolve. Mental strength is not built by avoiding failure, but by engaging with it repeatedly and refusing to let it define you. Those who understand this stop fearing failure and start using it. They recognize that strength is earned through struggle, not protected by comfort. And that failure is not the enemy, it is the instructor. Emotional control is one of the clearest markers of real mental strength. Life constantly triggers emotions, fear, anger, frustration, excitement, anxiety, and doubt. These emotions are natural and unavoidable. What separates strong minds from weak ones is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to function without being ruled by it. When emotions dictate behavior, decision-making becomes impulsive, inconsistent, and reactive. Mental strength is earned by learning to experience emotions without surrendering control. Most people confuse emotional expression with emotional intelligence. They believe that expressing feelings freely is a sign of strength. In reality, unfiltered emotional reactions often signal a lack of control. Anger leads to reckless words, fear leads to avoidance, excitement leads to overconfidence, and frustration leads to quitting. Emotionally driven decisions feel justified in the moment, but often create long-term damage. Emotional control allows you to pause, assess, and respond intentionally rather than react automatically. Pressure exposes emotional weakness. Under stress, emotions intensify and the mind seeks relief. Weak minds look for escape, distraction, blame, excuses, or comfort. Strong minds remain composed and focused on solutions. This composure is not accidental, it is trained. It comes from repeatedly facing stressful situations and practicing restraint. Each time you choose calm action over emotional reaction, you strengthen your ability to handle future pressure. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions, and emotional control determines whether fear paralyzes or motivates. Fear warns of uncertainty and potential risk. Without control, fear leads to hesitation, procrastination, and missed opportunity. With control, fear becomes information rather than an obstacle. You acknowledge it, assess the risk, and act anyway. This ability to move forward despite fear is a defining trait of mentally strong individuals. Anger and frustration are equally dangerous when uncontrolled. These emotions often arise when expectations are not met or obstacles appear. Uncontrolled anger leads to impulsive decisions, damaged relationships, and wasted energy. Controlled anger, however, can be redirected into focus, effort, and determination. Mental strength allows you to channel emotional energy productively instead of letting it sabotage progress. Emotional control also protects consistency. Feelings fluctuate daily, but goals require steady effort. If emotions determine your actions, progress becomes erratic. One bad mood can derail days or weeks of effort. Mental strength creates a separation between feeling and doing. You may feel tired, discouraged, or irritated, but you act according to your standards, not your mood. This reliability is essential for long-term success. Another key aspect of emotional control is delayed gratification. Strong minds resist immediate emotional comfort in favor of long-term outcomes. This means tolerating boredom, discomfort, and effort without seeking instant relief. Weak minds chase pleasure and avoid discomfort, sacrificing future success for temporary comfort. Emotional control allows you to sit with discomfort without reacting impulsively, which is critical for discipline and perseverance. Emotional control also enhances clarity. When emotions dominate, thinking becomes clouded. Stress narrows perspective, fear exaggerates threats, and excitement distorts judgment. Controlled emotions allow clear assessment of situations and better decision making. This clarity is essential in high-pressure environments where mistakes are costly. Mentally strong individuals are trusted with responsibility because they remain rational when others become emotional. Criticism is another test of emotional control. Feedback, judgment, and rejection often trigger defensiveness or insecurity. Weak minds react emotionally, arguing, withdrawing, or internalizing negativity. Strong minds separate ego from information. They evaluate criticism objectively, discard what is useless, and apply what is valuable. This ability to remain emotionally neutral in the face of judgment accelerates growth and strengthens confidence. Emotional control also strengthens relationships and leadership. People gravitate toward those who are calm, consistent, and reliable under pressure. Leaders who react emotionally create instability and fear. Leaders who maintain control inspire trust and confidence. Mental strength is contagious. Composure under stress influences others and sets a standard for behavior. Training emotional control requires deliberate practice. It involves resisting the urge to react immediately, questioning emotional impulses, and choosing response over reaction. This practice is uncomfortable because it requires self-restraint and awareness. However, each successful moment of control reinforces mental strength. Over time, emotional discipline becomes natural rather than forced. Comfort weakens emotional control by reducing exposure to stress. Without stress, emotions are rarely tested. When pressure eventually appears, untrained minds collapse. Those who regularly face challenges develop emotional tolerance. What once triggered panic or frustration becomes manageable. This tolerance is built gradually through repeated exposure to difficulty. Emotional control does not mean suppressing emotions or denying their existence. It means acknowledging them without allowing them to dictate behavior. This distinction is critical. Suppression leads to internal conflict and eventual breakdown. Control leads to balance, clarity, and strength. Ultimately, emotional control defines real strength because it determines how you act when it matters most. Anyone can perform well when calm and comfortable. Mental strength shows itself under stress, pressure, and uncertainty. Those who master emotional control do not eliminate emotions, they master them. This mastery allows consistent action, sound decision-making, and resilience in the face of adversity. Emotional control is not inherited, it is earned through discipline, awareness, and repeated exposure to challenge. Responsibility is the moment power enters your life. The instant you fully accept responsibility for your actions, decisions, and outcomes, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. Mental strength is impossible without responsibility because strength requires ownership. Without ownership, there is always someone or something else to blame, and where blame exists, growth dies. Responsibility is heavy, uncomfortable, and demanding, but it is also the foundation of control, confidence, and progress. Most people avoid responsibility because it exposes weakness. Taking responsibility means admitting mistakes, confronting poor decisions, and accepting that your current situation is largely the result of your past actions. This truth is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Blame offers emotional relief, but it removes power. Responsibility removes excuses, but it gives control. Mentally strong individuals choose control over comfort, even when it means facing harsh truths about themselves. When you accept responsibility, your mindset shifts from passive to proactive. Instead of asking why things happen to you, you ask what you can do about them. This shift changes everything. Problems become challenges rather than obstacles. Setbacks become signals for adjustment rather than reasons to quit. Responsibility forces action because inaction becomes a choice you must own. There is no hiding behind circumstances when you fully accept accountability. Responsibility also sharpens discipline. When you know that outcomes are directly tied to your behavior, excuses lose their appeal. Procrastination, laziness, and inconsistency become harder to justify. You begin to act with intention because you understand that every decision carries consequences. This awareness creates urgency. Urgency fuels effort, and effort builds momentum. Mental strength thrives in this environment of accountability. Another powerful effect of responsibility is self-respect. Every time you take ownership and follow through on commitments, you reinforce trust in yourself. You prove that your word matters. This self-trust becomes confidence, not the loud, fragile kind, but quiet, grounded confidence built on evidence. You no longer need external validation because you know you can rely on yourself. This inner stability is a defining trait of mentally strong individuals. Responsibility also eliminates entitlement. Entitlement weakens the mind by creating expectations without effort. It leads people to believe they deserve results without discipline, rewards without sacrifice, or success without struggle. Responsibility destroys entitlement by linking outcomes directly to effort. You get what you earn. This reality may feel harsh, but it is empowering. When results are earned, they can be repeated. When they are given, they can be taken away. Failure takes on a different meaning when responsibility is embraced. Instead of being a source of shame or excuse, failure becomes information. You analyze what went wrong, identify your role in it, and adjust. This process accelerates learning and improvement. Those who avoid responsibility repeat mistakes because they never confront their causes. Those who accept responsibility improve because they are willing to change themselves. Responsibility also strengthens resilience. When setbacks occur, mentally strong individuals do not collapse or complain. They assess, adapt, and move forward. Because they own their path, they do not wait for rescue or sympathy. This independence creates resilience. You become capable of handling adversity because you trust your ability to respond rather than relying on external support. Another critical aspect of responsibility is decision-making. When you accept that you will live with the consequences of your choices, you become more deliberate. You think long-term rather than short-term. You consider impact rather than convenience. This level of awareness leads to better decisions over time. Weak minds act impulsively and then blame circumstances. Strong minds act thoughtfully and accept outcomes. Responsibility also builds leadership. People naturally follow those who take ownership, remain accountable, and handle pressure without excuses. Leaders who deflect blame create insecurity and chaos. Leaders who accept responsibility create trust and stability. Mental strength in leadership is not about control over others, but control over oneself. Responsibility is the signal that someone can be trusted with influence. Avoiding responsibility keeps people stuck. It allows the same problems to repeat, the same habits to persist, and the same limitations to remain. Growth requires discomfort, and responsibility is uncomfortable because it demands change. Mentally strong individuals embrace this discomfort because they understand its value. They would rather face the truth than live in denial. Responsibility also reinforces identity. When you consistently own your actions and outcomes, you begin to see yourself as capable, reliable, and resilient. This identity drives future behavior automatically. You no longer question whether you can handle difficulty. You expect yourself to. This expectation raises standards and performance simultaneously. Ultimately, responsibility is not about blame or punishment, it is about power. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you gain over your life. Mental strength grows in direct proportion to the amount of responsibility you are willing to carry. Those who seek comfort avoid responsibility and remain weak. Those who seek growth accept responsibility and become strong. Responsibility creates power, and power creates growth. Consistency is the true test of mental strength because it reveals who can endure without constant reward, recognition, or excitement. Anyone can act with intensity for a short period of time. Anyone can feel disciplined for a week, motivated for a month, or focused during a burst of inspiration. But very few people can remain consistent over time, especially when progress is slow, results are invisible, and enthusiasm fades. Mental strength is not proven in moments of excitement. It is proven in the quiet, repetitive execution of effort day after day. Time exposes weakness. At the beginning of any journey, energy is high and expectations are optimistic. Early effort feels easy because hope is fresh. As time passes, reality sets in. The work becomes repetitive, obstacles appear, and results take longer than expected. This is where most people break. They mistake boredom for failure and discomfort for a sign to quit. Mentally strong individuals understand that this phase is not a signal to stop, but a requirement to continue. Consistency through this phase is what separates those who achieve from those who abandon their goals. Consistency requires discipline that is independent of emotion. Feelings change constantly. Some days you feel capable and confident, other days tired and doubtful. If action depends on mood, progress becomes unstable. Mentally strong people remove emotion from execution. They commit to standards, not feelings. They act because it is time to act, not because they feel inspired. This reliability builds momentum that compounds over time. One of the hardest aspects of consistency is delayed gratification. Effort does not always produce immediate reward. Often progress is happening beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Weak minds grow frustrated when results do not appear quickly. They want confirmation that their effort matters. Strong minds trust the process and continue regardless of immediate feedback. This patience is not passive, it is active endurance. It requires faith and repetition and belief that small actions accumulate into significant outcomes. Consistency also exposes self-honesty. When effort is required daily, excuses become obvious. There is no dramatic reason for quitting, only subtle rationalization. I'll do it tomorrow. I deserve a break. Or it won't matter if I skip today. These small compromises seem harmless, but they erode momentum. Mentally strong individuals recognize that consistency is fragile. They protect it by refusing to negotiate with excuses. One missed action can easily become a pattern. Strength is maintaining standards even when deviation feels justified. Another challenge of consistency is boredom. Repetition lacks novelty, and the human mind craves stimulation. Many people quit not because the task is difficult, but because it is dull. Mental strength allows you to endure boredom without seeking distraction. It trains you to value progress over entertainment. This ability is rare, but it is essential. Mastery in any area comes from repetition, not excitement. Those who chase novelty remain beginners. Those who embrace repetition become skilled. Consistency also builds identity. Every repeated action reinforces a self-image. When you consistently show up, you begin to see yourself as disciplined, reliable, and capable. This identity then fuels future behavior automatically. You act consistently not because you force yourself, but because it aligns with who you believe you are. Weak minds never reach this stage because inconsistency prevents identity formation. Strong minds become consistent long enough for discipline to become part of their character. Time also tests commitment. Long-term goals often outlast initial enthusiasm. Without consistent action, goals remain ideas rather than outcomes. Mentally strong individuals accept that commitment is not a feeling. It is a decision renewed daily. They do not ask whether they still want the goal. They act because they committed to it. This mindset eliminates indecision and preserves momentum. Consistency creates compound growth. Small efforts repeated daily produce results far greater than occasional intense action. This compounding applies to skills, habits, confidence, and resilience. Each day of consistency builds upon the last. Even if progress is not immediately visible, weak minds underestimate this effect and overestimate the value of short bursts of effort. Strong minds understand that time rewards persistence. Consistency also strengthens resilience. Each day you show up despite resistance. You train your mind to tolerate discomfort. This tolerance grows gradually. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. What once required effort becomes routine. Over time, your capacity expands. You are able to handle greater challenges because your baseline strength has increased. This expansion only occurs through sustained repetition, not isolated effort. Another reason consistency separates the strong from the weak is that life itself is inconsistent. Unexpected stress, distractions, and setbacks are inevitable. Maintaining consistency in imperfect conditions requires adaptability. Mentally strong individuals adjust without quitting. They modify intensity without abandoning direction. Weak minds interpret disruption as a reason to stop entirely. Strength lies in maintaining forward motion even when circumstances are unfavorable. Consistency also removes reliance on motivation. When action becomes habitual, motivation becomes irrelevant. You no longer wait to feel ready. You move because it is time. This independence from motivation is a major milestone in mental strength. It means your progress is no longer hostage to emotion. Ultimately, consistency over time is the proof of strength, not words, not intention, not talent, but repeated action across weeks, months, and years. Strong are not those who start aggressively, but those who continue quietly. The weak fade when attention shifts elsewhere. Time rewards those who endure. Comfort is the enemy of ambition. Feels safe, pleasant, and effortless, but it quietly erodes potential, weakens discipline, and destroys the drive needed for extraordinary achievement. Human nature is wired to seek ease and avoid discomfort. Most people settle into routines, habits, and environments that minimize stress, challenge, and accountability. They convince themselves that stability is success, that contentment equals growth. This mindset is the exact opposite of what produces results at the highest level. Ambition requires tension, resistance, and discomfort. Comfort guarantees stagnation. The danger of comfort lies in its subtlety. It rarely feels like failure while you are living in it. You wake up, follow predictable routines, avoid difficult decisions, and escape challenges, all while telling yourself that you are being responsible or practical. This slow erosion of potential often goes unnoticed until a crisis or opportunity exposes it. Comfort does not force you to confront your weaknesses, test your limits, or develop resilience. In essence, it keeps you small while giving the illusion of safety and control. Comfort fosters mediocrity. When you avoid challenge, every task becomes easy, but no growth occurs. Learning requires struggle, mastery requires effort, mental strength requires repeated exposure to pressure. People who prioritize comfort choose the familiar path, settle for small wins, and rarely risk anything significant. As a result, they live lives that feel safe but are devoid of extraordinary results. High achievers understand that comfort is an internal barrier to excellence, and they intentionally step beyond it to create tension that drives progress. One of the most insidious ways comfort kills ambition is through habit formation. Habits dictate behavior far more than motivation or intention. When comfort dictates habits, skipping hard work, avoiding accountability, procrastinating, or seeking entertainment, you gradually lower your standards. Each day spent avoiding discomfort reinforces the idea that minimal effort is sufficient. Over time, this habit becomes identity. You no longer fight for excellence because comfort has trained your mind to accept mediocrity as normal. Comfort also undermines discipline. Discipline requires consistency in the face of difficulty. When life feels easy, there is no test of discipline. The brain becomes soft, preferring immediate pleasure over long-term gain. Weakening of discipline shows itself when real pressure appears. People who have lived in comfort for too long are often unprepared for challenges, stress, or opportunity. Their mental toughness is undeveloped because it was never exercised. Comfort creates fragility, leaving individuals ill-equipped to handle setbacks, competition, or high-stakes situations. Fear often drives the pursuit of comfort. People prefer safety because stepping outside familiar boundaries triggers anxiety. But ironically, comfort perpetuates fear because it limits experience. The less you expose yourself to challenge, the more intimidating it becomes when pressure inevitably arises. High achievers understand that fear is temporary, but the cost of comfort is permanent. By continually confronting discomfort, they expand their capacity to endure difficulty, manage stress, and embrace opportunity. Comfort also impacts decision-making. When seeking ease, people avoid risks, defer decisions, and stick with the status quo. They choose paths that feel safe rather than paths that are strategically right. This leads to incremental gains at best and stagnation at worst. Ambition requires decisive action under uncertainty. Comfort discourages bold choices, ensuring that potential remains unrealized. The willingness to tolerate discomfort separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who drift aimlessly. Another effect of comfort is delayed growth. True progress is born in moments of challenge, resistance, and struggle. Discomfort forces adaptation, skill building, and mental fortitude. Each time you face something difficult and push through it, you gain capacity, confidence, and experience. Conversely, avoiding discomfort denies the mind the opportunity to grow. Growth cannot be experienced passively. It must be earned through effort that exceeds current ability. Comfort ensures that effort never exceeds minimum requirements. Comfort also erodes resilience. Life is unpredictable and adversity is inevitable. Those conditioned to seek comfort lack the coping mechanisms to manage stress, setbacks, or high-pressure situations. Every challenge becomes overwhelming because the mind has never been trained to endure discomfort. Mentally strong individuals, by contrast, actively seek discomfort, knowing that the more they practice enduring difficulty, the stronger their resilience becomes. Each confrontation with challenge is a rehearsal for future success. Comfort influences self-perception as well. People who habitually seek comfort tell themselves they are cautious, practical, or balanced, but this self-perception masks stagnation. Ambition cannot survive in a state of complacency. Mentally strong individuals recognize the difference between safety and limitation. They understand that temporary discomfort is a necessary step toward long-term achievement. By embracing challenge, they reshape identity from passive observer to active creator of results. High achievers intentionally structure their lives to avoid comfort traps. They surround themselves with accountability, set demanding goals, and take on challenges that exceed current abilities. This deliberate exposure to discomfort trains the mind, strengthens discipline, and accelerates growth. In contrast, those who prioritize comfort avoid accountability, set minimal goals, and choose paths of least resistance. The outcome is predictable. The former group grows stronger, more capable, and more confident. The latter remains static, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Ultimately, comfort kills ambition because it replaces growth with ease, effort with avoidance, and potential with stagnation. Ambition requires discomfort because it demands more than what feels safe or convenient. To achieve extraordinary results, you must step into the unknown, endure resistance, and face fear without flinching. Every moment spent clinging to comfort delays growth, undermines discipline, and erodes resilience. Those who understand this make discomfort a tool rather than an enemy. They seek challenge, embrace struggle, and use pressure to shape their abilities, knowing that only by breaking free from comfort can they achieve greatness.